providers of Minnesota's The Inside Scoop, with your advocacy team, Toby Pearson, Aaron Bowie, and Todd Bergstrom. This week's host, Toby Pearson.
Welcome to today's Inside Scoop. Today is April 7th, 2017. And we have up-to-the-minute news, as always. By the time you are watching this, the House will be debating its Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill on the floor of the House. We anticipate it going about 6 or 7 hours. Some have projected as many as 8. I'm hoping as few as 5, because they're not going to start until around 1 o'clock, and it'll be a long day. But it begs the question, where are we? So where we are is the point at the legislative session where both bodies will have passed their bills off the floor. What this does is it sets up the long-awaited conference committee time, where the two bodies, the House and the Senate, get together, and typically they would have the governor as well at the table trying to reconcile the bills. What they have to do to get to reconcile the bills is figure out what their joint targets are. In other words, they have to figure out how much money they're going to spend before they can then decide where they're going to spend the money. So to rewind quickly, we had about a $1.6 billion surplus, but if you factor in inflation, it's actually closer to about $600 million surplus. And in the out years, you actually don't have any surplus. Then the House and the Senate set their respective targets. The House said to spend about $45 billion. The Senate was just a little north of $45 billion, and the governor was somewhere around $46 billion. So about $1 billion difference. Where it gets more interesting is their targets with internal numbers. So the House was going to cut about $1.35 billion in taxes, the Senate about $900 million, and the governor was somewhere around $300 million. So once they decide on that number, then they tie that in with what is the Health and Human Services budget. So the Senate had a $335 million budget cut, the House had a $600 million budget cut, and the governor actually spent money, although he used Healthcare Access Fund money to do it, and extended the provider tax. So they all have a little bit of funny money all built in. And what they will do is they will get together and try to reconcile those things and come up with a bill. Now we have internal conversations about whether or not they're this year going to have the House and the Senate reconcile their bill and send it to the governor for veto, or if they're going to keep it open and try to negotiate a three-way deal towards the end. We'll find out. We don't know, to be perfectly honest. So it leaves us with the question of what can you do in the light of all this information? Well, next week they're on a recess. They take a brief recess of 1 week for Easter and Passover, which allows them to go back into their districts and have meetings. You can go to a meeting. You can host a meeting. If you're not willing to, or able to do either of those two things, you can simply write a letter or an email. Contact them and say, what our message is basically support elderly waiver reform, move things forward. So, that's our message. But, I will give you a short and quick recap of what's in each bill. So the Senate bill has some spending on an elderly waiver reform. They also included nursing facility scholarship program and the value-based reimbursement, the nursing facility updating that we've been pushing along. The House does not spend any money on elderly waiver reform, but it does include our workforce items of loan forgiveness, nursing facility scholarship, and an innovation grant fund. So, at the end of the day, we hope for both of them to have the House to take our elderly waiver reform and the Senate to take our workforce initiatives, and therefore we win twice. We're probably the most confident that the value-based reimbursement is going to be in the end, because a version of it is in all three bills. It'll be just a matter of negotiating which version is the best version for us. So again, what you can do Next week they're on break. Host, attend, call or write your legislator and tell them to support elderly waiver reform. For now, that is the Inside Scoop.